Tendai Mwari. Tendai Mwari. Tendai Mwari. Be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kudzai, Mudzimu, Mukuru. We give praises unto our great ancestors because our ancestors are worthy to be praised. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African power and African liberation for all African people. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Tendai Mwari. Agbara, Lake, Lale, Adifofun Orunmila, Yo Shegun, Aye, Yo Sise Torun, Woniki Orunmila Rubo, Woni Yo Shegun, Otare, Igbati Oruboton, Osini Ishegun, Iba Ashe, Egun Ashe, Ashe, Ashe o. The torrent breaks through hills and valleys. This was the teaching of Ifa for Orunmila, who would triumph on earth and do likewise in the unseen realm. Orunmila was told to sacrifice. He was told he would triumph over his enemies, and indeed, when he practiced sacrifice, he was victorious. Such is the wisdom of Muzimu Makuda, our great ancestors. Hail to the power of the word. 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 So brothers and sisters, this wisdom taken from the Oduifa, specifically from the line of spiritual wisdom known as Oshe Meji in the Oduifa, wisdom of our Yoruba ancestors, speaks to us of victory and the certainty of victory if we practice sacrifice. Sacrifice in the context of this message being the discipline of applying ourselves to do whatever it takes to bring about victory. In September of last year, our mama, Asata Shakur, joined the ancestors. And one of her statements, sayings, wisdom, is that we fight to win. She said, I don't want to just resist. I want to win. She said, it is our duty to fight, and it is our duty to win. That's right. She takes winning beyond even a certainty or probability. She said it's a duty that we must do it.
Word sound, we must win.
And so this wisdom of the Oduifa opens the message because the process of a revolution, the objective of a revolution is to win.
To win. That's right. That's right.
It presupposes the idea that there is some enemy somewhere about the place. Are you following me?
Yeah.
And in order to do our best, in order to do our duty, we must win.
Yeah.
We must overcome the enemy.
Yes.
And in order to overcome the enemy, there are certain things that we have to do that are going to require us to have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so we are gathered here today to honor an ancestor who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Word.
In and around this time of year, brothers and sisters, in the year 1965, he was called upon to make the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of our people.
Yeah, that's right.
And he did so fearlessly. He would not compromise on doing the work, even though he knew that his life was in danger as a result of doing that work.
Yeah.
And so, with apologies for the fact of my rudimentary Yoruba, we give thanks for our Yoruba ancestors for leaving us such wisdom that can guide us today, brothers and sisters. And with that, let us hear from Omowale Malcolm X.
Now, what does this have to do with France, and England, and the United States? You and I are living at a time when there's a revolution going on, a worldwide revolution. It goes beyond Mississippi. It goes beyond Alabama. It goes beyond Harlem. There's a worldwide revolution going on, and it's in two phases. Number one, what is it revolting against? The power structure. The American power structure? No. The French power structure? No. The English power structure? No. Then what power structure? An international Western power structure.
So we see that the title for the message is in fact taken from the word sound of Omowale Malcolm X. In fact, in many places, this particular press conference and speech is referred to as a worldwide revolution or the worldwide revolution. Is everybody with me? Yeah. And this was actually just a few days before Omowale Malcolm X was assassinated. He uttered these words. And he spoke about the fact that there are upheavals taking place across the world, in Africa and in Asia and throughout Latin America. And all of these revolutions or revolutionary processes were targeted against an oppressive force, which he defines as a global Western system. And we're going to get into what that means shortly. But this word sound is in a period of Omowale Malcolm X's life when he is forwarding an explicitly black nationalist Pan-Africanist agenda. And we emphasize this because in honoring Omowale Malcolm X, we have to contend with the fact that there is so much about his life and legacy that has been obscured by the dominant narrative that exists. And as Brother Leader said in the libation, it is for us to control the narrative of our history. The dominant narrative tells us that we have Malcolm Little, the child Malcolm. Then we have Detroit Red, adolescent to early adulthood Malcolm. Then we have Malcolm X in the Nation of Islam. And then we have El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. Malcolm X reformed in the spirit of Orthodox or true Islam after he leaves the Nation of Islam. And within the context of being El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, he becomes, they tell us, an Islamic evangelist. That the principal mission for which he begins to live his life is to evangelize the truth of Islam. And if they don't tell us that he became an Islamic evangelist, they tell us that he became a Marxist socialist, that he reformed from being a black nationalist to promoting socialism in its Marxist inclination. And then even further, it's probably the most popular one, Malcolm X then becomes a civil rights activist. That he does away with his anti-white radicalism and begins to embrace all colors of the rainbow in a unified expression of what it means to be a good American. That his ultimate goal became the integration and acceptance of African people wholly and completely within American society as it relates to the dominant trends within the civil rights movement. Is everybody with me? And when we come every year to our Omowale Malcolm X observance, we emphasize and foreground Omowale
That's right. Omowale.
Say, Omowale.
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 The name that our Baba was given at the Ibadan University in Nigeria. Gifted to him by the Muslim Students Association at the Ibadan University in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
They gave him a Yoruba name.
That's right.
A Yoruba name which means the child or the son has returned. The child or the son has come home.
Yeah.
They understood the significance of not just affirming an Arabic name, but a Yoruba name for a son, a returning son of Africa. But for us who adhere to the political legacy of Omowale Malcolm X, Omowale is not just a term that symbolizes, a name that symbolizes his physical return to Mama Africa. It symbolizes the crystallization of his revolutionary black nationalist Pan-Africanist mission.
Woo, woo. Say it again.
When we say Omowale, when we say Omowale here, in this space at this time, we are not just referring to a name given to a man. We are referring to the incarnation of the man in his evolution as a revolutionary Pan-Africanist. Understand the significance of this thing. That's what we mean when we say Omowale. And as a result, there are many Omowales in the Pan-African communities, like almost every other Pan-African name themselves Omowale because they've read and see him name Omowale. You following me? So you find it a very popular name among us, brothers and sisters. In fact, we probably need a moratorium on people named Omowale in Pan-African organization. Too much Omowale about the place. You know what I mean? We need some other names. Do some. Yoruba have plenty name. Yeah? You know what I mean? But it's a beautiful name. And we give thanks to our people in Nigeria at that time who had the wisdom to grant him this name. And so in the context of that, at our Shamila at the beginning of the month, we spoke about the character of Omowale in the context of being an exponent, an exemplar of Iwa Pele, balanced character, good character within the context of being a revolutionary. We spoke about the fact that within Yoruba spiritual consciousness, the term Omoluabi refers to an individual who exhibits good character. But we are not just concerned with good character, we are concerned with revolutionary character.
That's right.
Yeah? Are you following me?
Yeah.
And so we identified a few characteristics of Omowale Malcolm X, which are his sincerity, his studiousness, and also his willingness to serve. And we highlighted these facts. And we culminated the message by talking about the fact that all of this in the latter part of his life was directed towards the development of the organization of Afro-American unity. So let us hear from our Baba once again in terms of the OAAU.
Most people, when we say Afro-American, they think only of the Negroes in the United States. But they don't realize that 2/3 of Brazil consists of people of African blood, which means they're also Afro-American because Brazil is in South America. And in all of these, many of these countries in South America and Central America, and even in Canada, they are heavily populated with people whose ancestors came from Africa. So when you total up the number of Afro-Americans, real Afro-Americans, in the Western Hemisphere, there are perhaps 100 million. And if these people ever unite among themselves, not only is it necessary for the Afro-Americans in the United States to be organized, but it's also necessary for the Afro-Americans in the Caribbean, or the Afro-Cubans, the Afro-Brazilians. It's necessary for all of them to be organized. And then once they are organized in each place, we have to organize among ourselves so that the Afro-American in the United States will be working in conjunction in a coordinated program with those who are in Cuba and those in Brazil and those in Venezuela and those throughout the Caribbean, and Haiti, and in the West Indian Islands. And in this way, we actually get strength. And it's not an accident that there's no organization existing in the Western Hemisphere that's designed toward that end. It would be it would be a direct threat to imperialism as it really exists, and to colonialism as it exists in the West.
So this really expounds upon the purpose for which the OAAU was birthed. And there's many things I could highlight, but what I want to highlight, just one thing for the sake of time, is his definition of Afro-American. That his definition of Afro-American was not confined to Africans of the United States of America. That he said the Africans in Brazil are in South America, so they're also Afro-American. And the Africans in Haiti are in the Caribbean, which is in the Americas, so they're also Afro-American. So with that terminology, he has taken us beyond national boundaries, in particular national boundaries that are defined and developed by colonizers in their own interest. That our allegiance is to our people wherever they are, and not to a colonial boundary drawn by a colonizer wherever it may be. Is everybody with me? And then he goes on, brothers and sisters, in the writing of the Charter of the Organization of Afro-American Unity, it says, upon this establishment, the Afro-American people will launch a cultural revolution. A what?
Cultural revolution.
Say it again.
Cultural revolution.
Which will provide the means for our restoring our identity, that we might rejoin our brothers and sisters on the African continent culturally, psychologically, economically, and share with them the sweet fruits of freedom from oppression and independence of racist governments. Establishment of the OAAU. So they said they want to establish a what? Cultural revolution.
That's right.
That is important. Let's take a second for going at this cultural revolution business. Because many of us do not understand what a cultural revolution is, because we have a myopic view of what culture is. We think culture is just the language where you speak, and the food where you nyam, and the clothes where you wear, and the music where you dance to, and the art where you make. You understand me? That's what we think. And especially in the context of African culture, they reduce our culture. When we think of European culture, we think of democracy, capitalism. We think of Greece and Rome. We think of Nietzsche and Socrates and Plato and people that brought big ideas to society that define how we engage politically and economically. When we think of African culture, we think of Afrobeats and Egusi. We think of Kente and Agbada. We think of Bogolan. And maybe a dance move or two that, generally speaking, is confined to the region of the waist. And all of those things are expressions of African culture. Is everybody with me? But that view of making that African culture in and of itself negates what our culture teaches us about how to organize people, how to organize society, how to generate and develop political systems, economic systems, ideas and ways of reasoning, knowledge acquisition. Is everybody with me? And so this view of African culture is fundamentally counter-revolutionary.
Yeah. Yes.
Because what it means is when you are able to engage your culture, it's always surface level.
Yeah.
The expressions, the outward expressions of culture. But if you want to think about governance, self-governance, autonomy, sovereignty, you have to go to Europe to get ideas.
Yeah.
Are you following me?
Yeah.
Because African culture can't teach for nothing but government and distribution of wealth. So we need a cultural revolution to reconnect ourselves to ourselves.
Word. Come on.
Baba Amilcar Cabral, in a message entitled National Culture and Liberation, says when Goebbels, the brain behind Nazi propaganda, heard culture being discussed, he brought out his revolver. For those who don't know what a revolver is, it's a gun. Yeah? Just to have a conversation about culture, Goebbels bring him gun.
Yeah. That's serious business.
Serious business in my deal with. That shows that the Nazis, who were and are the most tragic expression of imperialism and its thirst for domination, even if they were all degenerates like Hitler, had a clear idea of the value of culture as a factor of resistance to foreign domination. History teaches us, he says, that in certain circumstances it is very easy for the foreigner to impose his domination on a people. But it also teaches us that whatever may be the material aspects of this domination, it can be maintained only by the permanent organized repression of the cultural life of the people concerned. Listen to what he said. Whatever the material, aspects of this domination, that it can only be truly maintained if you are able to suppress the culture of the people in question. More could be said on that, but for time. Implantation of foreign domination can be assured definitively only by physically liquidation of a significant part of the dominated population. In fact, to take up arms to dominate a people is above all to take up arms to destroy or at least neutralize, to paralyze its cultural life. For as long as there continues to exist a part of these people retaining their own cultural life, foreign domination cannot be sure of its perpetuation. At any moment, depending on internal and external factors, determining the evolution of the society in question, cultural resistance may take up new forms in order to fully contest foreign domination. When him said this, him not talk about if we are nyam injera and jollof. Yeah? Him not talk about if we can do rumba and sukus and zouk. Well, that's not what he's talking about. You understand? All of that is good, it's beautiful. There is nothing more than me love. If I remember Auntie Affion, one of the elders in the Pan-African community from Nigeria, but we was raised with her in this community. She said, when we get freedom, you may discover that I like to party more than you.
That's right.
Because there's nothing that me love more than to hear some African rhythm and drop some African foot and wind some African waistline. It's beautiful. But that alone is not our culture.
No.
Is everybody with me? All right, let's go forward. So Papa Omowale says,
and one of the things that's going to help to bring this about is the independence of Africa. And one of the only reasons that we in the West have never organized, we have hated our image and our African image. And because Africa has been in the hands of people who have created an image of Africa that's negative and hateful. and it has been hateful to us. We haven't wanted to identify with it. But now that Africa is getting independent and in a position to create its own image, and it's a positive image, those of us in the West look at the African image and see how positive it is. We begin to identify with it. We become proud of Africa, and we become proud of our African blood, our African heritage. And this is what is beginning to make the Africans in the Western Hemisphere today develop more race pride. And as this race pride develops, then it has a tendency to make us want to unite together and work together. And your Western imperialists and colonialists consider this to be a grave threat. More threat than communism or Marxism or socialism or anything else. The Africanism is what they consider to be the real threat.
Africanism is what they consider to be the real threat. You said more threat than communism or Marxism or any other kind of ism.
Right.
Africanism is what they consider to be the real threat. That when the African goes into himself, herself, and brings out from himself, because the African is a global people. The unification, the revolutionary unification of the African represents a dynamic threat to the system of what he referred to earlier as Western imperialism.
Yeah.
Are you with me, brothers and sisters? I've got a lot to get through in a very short space of time. But the subject is the future of the worldwide revolution. So let's define what a revolution is. The forcible overthrow of a government or social order in favor of a new system. The forcible overthrow of a government or social order in favor of a new system. Papa Omowale defined it as Western imperialism.
That's right.
I had to use the term Bakra imperialism. Bakra being the term that we used in the Caribbean to refer to the enslaver, the colonizer.
Yeah. Come on.
So the question then becomes, what is the system and what are the features and factors of that system? What it look like? How does it behave? What is its history, brothers and sisters? Are those good questions?
Yeah.
So in order to understand that, as Papa Omowale Malcolm X says, of all of our efforts, history is best qualified to reward our research. So we're going to engage a brief history of this system of Bakra imperialism from the time of Omowale Malcolm X till now, in order to understand what the worldwide revolution is looking like today and in the future. Does that make sense? Yeah. So Omowale Malcolm X is speaking these words in 1964 and 1965. And that is a period that is heavily within the period that is often referred to as the so-called Cold War, which is the dispute between the powers of Eastern and Western Europe. The East of Europe being represented by Russia, and the West being represented most fundamentally at this time, by the United States of America, who are essentially the children of the United Kingdom of Great Britain.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, listen to Secretary of State Mark Rubio's speech just the other day. When go again? In Europe? No, Monaco. Was it Monaco? Where was he? I can't remember where he was. Huh? Was he in Germany? And tell the people them said was before a room full of European leaders, and told the people them that the United States will always be a child of Europe. He said that in so many words. Them know where them come from.
That's right.
That's what you call white nationalist pan-Europeanism in effect.
That's right.
And when I go through this history, you will see how explicitly they know where they come from. This is a period after what I refer to as mass European War II, also known as World War II. Wasn't really a world war. It was a European tribal war that because they were mass colonizers, they dragged the rest of the world into. But it's very important that we have to understand that the world was not at war. Europe was at war and dragged everybody into the war. So I refer to it as mass European war too. Tribal war too. Officially, the European Recovery Program. What's it called?
European Recovery Program.
It was a US initiative to provide economic aid to rebuild European countries after mass European tribal war II. Its goal was to prevent the spread of communism. Make sure communism don't spread throughout Europe. Because Russia was big and bad about you. You following me?
Yeah.
By stabilizing the economies of Europe and promoting political stability. It laid the groundwork for European cooperation and integration. Now bear in mind that this war was fought significantly on European soil. So they mashed up themselves after the war and needed some assistance in terms of recovery.
Yeah.
And America, who had suffered the least from the war, was the only one in a position to manage the whole of Europe.
That's right. Yeah.
And carry them.
Yeah. That's right. Big brother.
Yeah? Carry their fathers. Their mother and their father. Through this turbulent period in European history. The Americans understood they had a responsibility towards Europe at that moment in time. Total money spent. In fact, let me not go through the specifics of the money. But just to say, this is a graph, a table that shows the expenditure of America in Europe at that time. As you can see, the United Kingdom of Great Britain got the most money. And what you can see is that the money that the United Kingdom of Great Britain was given is almost equal to all of the other countries. Yes? Where it says other countries outside of Europe that America gave aid. Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
I was online the other day, and in relation to the tragedy that resulted in the car accident that resulted in the killing of two of Anthony Joshua's friends, a sister said, Europe has given, or the West, I can't remember which one it was, Nigeria, millions or billions in aid for infrastructure. Why is it they can't get their ambulance sorted out or something like that?
That's right. They couldn't do it.
The propaganda tells us that Africa and the Caribbean has been receiving inordinate amounts of aid from Europe and America for the better part of a generation or two. Look at this, brothers and sisters, and notice, yes, that America gave more aid to Britain post-mass European War II than it gave to almost every other country combined outside of Europe. Are you with me?
Yeah, we do.
All right. This also resulted in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, which is a military alliance in the interest of Western Europe that said, if one of we go to war, the whole of we go to war.
Yeah.
Created around the same time. That institution exists to this day. Are you with me, brothers and sisters? So now what happens is that America is effectively carrying Europe economically and militarily. America is the biggest donor towards NATO. It was America that was charged with the responsibility of militarily protecting Western interests from World War, mass European War II till now. And they did so because they knew that once Europe had restored economies, they would be viable markets for American products. Is everybody with me? That America can sell all its things to France, and to Britain, and to Germany, and so on and so forth. So for America's own survival, it needed a strong, economically viable Europe. So it funded Europe so that Europe can send the money right back to America when they buy the Ford, and etc., etc., etc. Is everybody with me? Yeah. All right. That's a brief history. But then we get to a few years ago. This was in Trump's first term. I believe it was 2017. Here was Trump saying no.
I have been very, very direct with Secretary Stoltenberg and members of the alliance in saying that NATO members must finally contribute their fair share and meet their financial obligations. But 23 of the 28 member nations are still not paying what they should be paying and what they are supposed to be paying for their defense. This is not fair to the people and taxpayers of the United States. And many of these nations owe massive amounts of money from past years and not paying in those past years. Over the last 8 years, the United States spent more on defense than all other NATO countries combined. If all NATO members had spent just 2% of their GDP on defense last year, we would have had another $119 billion for our collective defense and for the financing of additional NATO reserves.
Now, listen, my brothers and sisters. He said that in front of almost all of the leaders of Europe. This was in his first term in 2017. Are you following me? Yeah. There's a lot of information going on here. I'm going to make sure everybody's following the thing. Yeah. Are you with me? Yeah. All right? You hear him talk and you would believe that America was hoodwinked into this arrangement. You could be forgiven for believing that the whole of Europe took advantage of America and has been doing so since the 1950s and 60s. That they never went into this arrangement willingly because it secured their own interests. Are you with me, brothers and sisters? Yeah. But something has changed for America. So now the arrangement that was serving them so well is not serving them well anymore. Is everybody with me? Yeah. Why? What's happening in the world? But how did Europe respond? And to look at how Europe responded, let's use the example of our good Prime Minister, newly elected, with a spanking majority. But a year and a piece ago. What do you say?
Starting today, I can announce this government will begin the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War. Yeah. We will deliver our commitment to spend 2.5% of GDP on defence, but we will bring it forward so that we reach that level in 2027. And we will maintain that for the rest of this Parliament. And let me spell that out, Mr. Speaker. That means spending £13.4 billion more on defence every year from 2027. But, Mr. Speaker, we also face enemies that are sophisticated in cyber attacks, sabotage, even assassination. And so our intelligence and security services are an increasingly vital part of protecting both us and our allies. So on top of the funding of 2.5% that I've just announced, going forward we will recognise the incredible contribution of our intelligence and security services to the defence of the nation, which means taken together we will be spending 2.6% on our defence from 2027. But, Mr. Speaker, we must go further still.
Right, for the sake of time, I'm going to end that there, yeah? But all I can hear is we're going to spend more money on every aspect of our military, yeah? Boots on the ground, cyber, everything, Air Force, everything, yeah? Financial increase, more spending on military. And this pronouncement replicates itself all over Europe because Trump came in last year, the beginning of last year, and was beating the same drum. When I now pay on a fair share in the NATO business, what I'm telling you. Pay out the money. Yeah? And in response, everybody starts singing to the tune. We're going to increase spending here. And many of us, I think, misguidedly, are kind of celebrating because it looked like NATO is on the ropes, that the NATO alliance may fall apart. And I'm saying, no, listen to what I say. Because the NATO alliance, even if it falls apart, it's only going to be replaced by a stronger, more militarized Europe. Is everybody with me? Yeah. Based upon their own pronouncements. So it may mean that particular formation dies. It may not mean that. It may mean that NATO reforms itself with a stronger, more militarized Europe. And that where America has boots around the world and military bases around the world, some of those may just be replaced with the European Union and other European formulations. You understand? Yeah. Because America can be assured that its interest will be sufficiently protected by a more militarized Europe. We have to be careful what we're celebrating.
That's right.
And analyze things properly. But you can see that across the waters, they are consistently acting in each other's interest, even when it's beef. Yeah. Trump coming and embarrass the all of them. But they know it's their brethren.
Yeah.
You understand?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Starting today.
So one of these formulations that the US has more military bases around the world than anybody. 100 and something military bases around the world. Yeah? And one of the formulations that facilitate these military bases that we know about most is AFRICOM, the US Africa High Command. And it's US Africa Command with partners, counters transnational threats and malign actors, strengthen security forces and responds to crises in order to advance U.S. national interests. Advance what? U.S. national interests and promote regional security and prosperity. They became national news and international news last year because of this particular unconscionable janker named Michael Langley, who was the commander of AFRICOM up until August of last year. He has now been replaced by General Dagvin Anderson. Now, I don't know about you, brothers and sisters, but I'm far more comfortable with this image. Yeah? As the face of the US Military High Command, personally. When I saw this, I said, give thanks. At least it looked like what it's supposed to look like. You understand? But what I want to highlight for us today is that for us, as Pan-Africanists, let us not overlook Southcom. You have AFRICOM, US Military High Command in Africa. Southcom is the US Military High Command for Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. Is everybody with me? Yeah. All right. Now, Langley caused uproar. This is General Michael Langley, the sellout junker that I pictured earlier, yeah? Last year, because he accused Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso of being in league with Russia and or China and being a satellite of them. Is everybody with me? Yeah. And so Africans around the world mobilize, so you can't say anything away, go boy. Sit down. And yes, and accuse him of stealing the money from the people in the service of. Yeah? And because, the goal specifically, and because Africans are very inspired by what is taking place with the Alliance of the Sahel right now, global mobilization. Yeah. Including in London, UK, I was there. Yeah. My brothers, you were there, or at least one of you was there. Yeah? All right? But I watched the whole Senate committee that statement was made in. And here's a very interesting statement from one of the devils that was running the committee.
In Africa, our adversaries have focused on building trade relationships while seizing influence from us. China's military ambitions on the continent are no secret, from their growing presence in Djibouti to the more than 100 seaports that have been constructed, financed, or operated by Chinese state-owned enterprises and could be used as dual use for future military contingencies. Russia has expanded its military engagement in Africa also, including by restructuring the Wagner Group's operations under an umbrella organization called Africa Corps, an historic irony of great proportions. They want to expand the reach of the Russian private military enterprise across the entire continent. Russia is also investing heavily in disinformation campaigns across the continent to spread anti-Western movements, undermine democracy, and promote Russian-backed authoritarian leaders, especially in regions like West Africa. It would seem that America's competitors recognize that to neglect Africa is to invite long-term strategic peril.
It seems like the United States competitors understand that to neglect Africa is to invite long-term peril. You never heard what the man said? He said that it seemed that the United States competitors understand that to neglect Africa is to invite long-term material peril. The message named The Future of Worldwide Revolution, right? These people are openly telling you that everybody are fight over our homeland, our motherland, for global supremacy and dominance. They're openly telling you these things. Whoever controls Africa rules the world. Brother Leader said. Are you with me? Now you notice that nowhere in this conversation is the agency of African people a factor. The Chinese and the Russian them are fight, the US them and the US them and the are fight the Chinese and the Russians. No one is asking, well, what are the Africans saying for themselves? It's not even a consideration in this conversation. Are you following me? So it seems that the economic and political supremacy of America that was so assured after mass European tribal war II seems to be in peril at the moment. So now America wants to give its brothers and sisters across the water a jolt, a shock, saying, look, we've got to reform, rejig the program. But they can't go with the begging bowl and say, listen, Europe, you know, they still have to present the air of authority and superiority. Yeah. So Trump says, come across the whole of Europe, and Europe responds to the call. America saves face, and Europe is more militarized. Is everybody with me? But the fact is that China in particular is presenting an economic threat to America in a way that no other nation has ever done. Materially. Russia was never that much of an economic threat to the US and to Western hegemony. China is at this moment in time. That's what's challenging them. And because of the fact that just like in the days of Omowale Malcolm X, where they were very concerned about which direction Africa would go because of the people power in Africa, the natural resources, and the threat of the spread of communism. They're concerned about that today, but for slightly different reasons. Just based upon the idea that China, in particular, may be able to present better deals economically to Africa and African people. There's more to be said on that, but for the sake of time. So let's look at very quickly some of what is happening in the African world. Let's start in the Caribbean. With the UN Security Support Mission in Haiti. That was initiated a couple years ago, in 2024. Contributing nations to this initiative include Kenya, Jamaica, Bahamas, Guyana, Barbados, Antigua and Barbuda, Bangladesh, Benin, and Chad, among others. This is a United States-funded operation to go into Haiti for the purpose, they say, of getting rid of the gangs. in IET. And unfortunately, Anthony Blinken, this meeting took place, was it in Jamaica? Yeah? And Anthony Blinken, the Blinken Bakra, we're sitting on right, yes, sir?
Yeah.
Then Secretary of State of the United States came to this meeting where they're talking about how to address the situation of IET. And all of these Caribbean leaders sat round this table with this Bakra from America and sanctioned a US-funded UN security support mission in IET. And I'm saying that this is a travesty if you understand the crimes that America has committed in Haiti, not 100 years ago, not 50 years ago, 10 and 20 years ago, to this day. This should never have happened. But the point is that we are inviting and sanctioning the US military, Southcom, into our nations in the Caribbean. You understand? Yeah. All right. Okay? Then now, more recently, in last year, you had Operation Southern Spear. In mid-2025, the US massively expanded its naval presence in the Caribbean, particularly around Venezuela. Beyond routine drug interdiction routines, deployments included multiple warships, specialized forces, aircraft, and maritime strike groups, described as the largest such presence in the region since the 1960s, since the time of Omowale, Malcolm X. Is everybody with me? Yeah. Yes? And right, you're right. The US is reorganizing its forces. And then we got the Stroger strategic alignment. The US is reorganizing its forces in the hemisphere. A new United States Army Western Hemisphere Command. So they set up a new command, which was established at the end of last year. Was activated in late 2025 to oversee operations across North, Central, and South America, including the Caribbean. All of this has resulted in the killing of fishermen off the coast of various Caribbean islands. We know of Trinidad. We know of more recently St. Lucia. We know of the fact that the US was trying to install military bases in certain Caribbean islands. And thankfully, the sellout them that govern our nations for once said, no, we don't really want no US base around here, really and truly. For once. And then what happened? US said, all right, sanction. Economic sanction, no visa. Yeah, for nobody, can't go nowhere. You understand? And because the global economy in general, and the Caribbean in particular, is reliant upon an influx of US dollars, some of us, like when we come from in Antigua, we have the Eastern Caribbean dollar, which is pegged to the US dollar. And some of us in the Eastern Caribbean like to boast. Say we money strong. We have to boast. Say the EC dollar, it's strong in comparison to Jamaica and some of the rest of them. Because it pegged to the US dollar. Yeah? I remember I got Auntie Afia on the brain. She said she was highlighting the fact that we love to go to Europe with begging bowl. And then she said, ours in Nigeria, our begging bowl is a gold one. And we feel good. So we have gold begging bowl to go to Europe with. The same thing. Is everybody with me? Yeah. We have to understand that in the message at Shamira, we spoke about the fact that Omowale Malcolm X studied the political environment and sought to educate us about the political environment of his time. We have to understand the political environment that we now exist in. Yes. Is everybody with me? Yeah. So we see it now. And all of this culminates in what? The kidnapping of President Maduro and his wife in Venezuela. Right. And there are many who are saying, for good reason, that Venezuela wasn't even the ultimate target. The ultimate target was Cuba. Yeah. Because Venezuela supplies a significant amount of Cuba's oil. And Cuba needs that oil to power its country. That it's a healthcare system, it's education system. Everything is reliant upon the oil from Venezuela. And remember when Maduro was captured and they were asking Trump about this on Air Force One. Listen to them little interviews there, the little stupid interviews that he does. Because every now and then he says something. He said, I don't know about you, but I feel like Cuba is on its last legs. And you know, so Marco Rubio, who I mentioned earlier, is one of them Bakra that they run from Cuba. Well, I think that was actually, he ran slightly before the revolution. His parents ran slightly before the revolution, but they considered themselves exiles. You know that? There was another one, not Rubio, another one of them Republican politicians who, in an interview with Tucker Carlson, was lamenting the atrocities of the Cuban government and put his own parents. His parents were killed by Ted Cruz. Said his parents were killed by the Cuban government. Lo and behold, his parents were killed before Castro came to power. But he threw it in there as an atrocity of the Cuban government, same way. Trickery. Right? So these are the things that are happening at the moment. And the issue is, now we as black nationalist Pan-Africanists have a lot of questions and critiques of Cuba on the issue of race and on the racial front. But we also have to learn some lessons from Cuba, remembering that Cuba is a majority African nation, analyzing the prospects and the conditions of African people in Cuba, but recognizing that Cuba has been able to stand defiant against against American imperialism for the better part of 2 generations. There are some lessons that we have to learn there.
With Russia backing.
Yes, initially, up until the 90s. But I'm saying from the 90s till now, they've been able to survive somewhat without the backing of Russia. I'm saying there's lessons to be learned. You know what I'm saying? Yeah? So yes, but Reverend is correct. That from the 1950s until the 1990s, Russia was backing Cuba. Economically, significantly. But from the 90s up until now, that has not been the case. You understand? Yeah. And so there's something that we need to learn, especially us in the Caribbean with our little small island self. And I'm including Jamaica and Haiti and Cuba and that. Yeah? We feel so big and bad about here. Yeah? Everybody a small island. We want to know that. Everybody, all right. Okay. So there are lessons to be learned there. And because of this, they have a fascination, an occupation, a preoccupation with the fall of Cuba. Right. By any means necessary for them, in their interest.
Sorry, they've never forgotten that they wanted to place the missiles there.
The Cuban Missile Crisis. Yeah. Exactly. Time doesn't allow to go into it. Then now, we have the strikes, the Christmas present that Trump did give Nigeria at the end of last year. Bombed Nigeria on the 25th of December. And since the bombing, US troops as advisors have been sent to Nigeria. Our recent Kwanzaa celebration of the Ituaka coalition stood on the stage and said, Nigeria was bombed by America with the permission of the Nigerian government. Yeah. And I was challenged by 2 brothers from Nigeria. Indeed. Unconscious Africans who suggested that I was wrong for saying this. Thankfully, I had our sister, who is also a member of the Pan-African Society and the AAPRP, to come in the conversation and back up what I was saying. Yeah? I said this, and the man would say, hold on, I was telling the truth. But lo and behold, that the foreign ministry, one ministry in Nigeria came out and said that it's the Nigerian government that gave the American government the intelligence for the bombing. Who they said there was bombing? Islamic terrorists. And the propaganda surrounded Boko Haram. But where did they bomb? They bombed northwestern Nigeria. I believe it was around Sokoto that the bomb did lick. Boko Haram happened to exist in northeastern Nigeria. So why did they bomb the northwest? Is it indeed? Indeed, missile deflection. You know what I mean? But the informed speculation suggests that because Nigeria's northern border is with Niger, which is a part of the Alliance of the Sahel, and the northwest is closer to Niamey, which is the capital of Niger. So really, it was a warning shot against Niger. Now remember that when the Alliance of the Sahel first established itself, and Niger locked off France from the uranium, I believe it was. It was France who called for, and America who called for, a military intervention by ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West Africa, into Niger. Yeah. And it was Nigeria. Yeah. Jump up. Yeah. Puppet strings fully attached.
Yeah. Ready and rearing to go.
I should say, it was the government of Nigeria. It was the president of Nigeria. The people of Nigeria said, where you go? Where you going? You can't even fix the road in Nigeria. And you want to fix Niger. Sit down, boy, and shut up. That's what the people said. You understand? So when you see America sending advisor troops to a region in which many of the nations have kicked out the French military, and at least one, I believe it's Nigeria itself, has kicked out the American military. And the rest of them are discussing it. Right? The drone bases, that's correct. When you see them send troops to Nigeria, wagwan. Is everybody with me? We have to understand the terrain that we're on at the moment. Then, brothers and sisters, this is a table that just lists the mineral resources of Africa and the Caribbean. The different industries that they contribute to. Yes? And where they are found in Africa and the Caribbean as far as being major sources. Is everybody with me? Yeah. I don't have time to go into it. Now, I want to... This is important, but I want to show you how this is going to be manifested. A few years ago, 2022, they had the US Africa Leaders Summit. Yeah? And the African Business publication reported, I'll just read the first paragraph. Cobalt Metals and the Zambian government, Zambian President Hakainde appeared at the US Africa Business Forum deal room to celebrate the announcement that Cobalt Metals, a startup backed by Bill Gates, Breakthrough Energy Ventures, will invest $150 million to explore Zambian copper mines using AI. Yes? Is everybody with me? Yeah? The deal has the potential to provide enough copper for more than 100 million electric vehicle batteries in a bid to cater to the global EV boom, and a press statement said. Yeah? And there's all kinds of information in here about, you know what, let me read the thing. Yeah? ABD Group and Accra Bridge, the government of Angola, is partnering with two American companies, ABD Group and Accra Bridge, to build 186 steel bridges covering every territory in Angola. The first phase of a 371 million project will start in early 2023. Cisco Systems and Cyberstation, a diaspora-owned small business jointly announced 800 million in new contracts to protect African countries from cyber threats. Is everybody with me? Yeah. Right? Now, I'm going to... And then you got Visa, and we know what Visa is, right? Yeah. Most of us have Visa in our pocket. Right, you know? That's right. Okay? Now, the one I want to particularly highlight is Cisco Systems and Cyberstation, because it talks about cyber threats. I remember Keir Starmer said that one of the things that they're going to invest in, as far as the military is concerned, is protection against cyber threats. Mm-hmm. Part of the way that they did that recently, about 5 years ago, I had a phone that was manufactured by a company called Huawei. Can't get no Huawei phone again because that's a Chinese company. And the US, the UK, at the behest of the US, locked down Huawei in this country because of its connection to the China government and the fact that, therefore, it represented a cyber threat. Having Huawei operating in the UK market represented a threat as far as the internet is concerned. We have the US, who has the strongest track record of economic exploitation of African people and resources, catering for our cybersecurity. To make that more explicit, last year, brothers and sisters, we had the initiation of Detachment 201, Executive Innovations Corp. In June 2025, the US Army launched Detachment 201, Executive Innovation Corps, bringing in 4 senior tech leaders as lieutenant colonels in the Army Reserve. These include, forget the names, the companies are Meta, which runs Facebook, Palantir, which is an AI company, and surveillance company, OpenAI, that runs ChatGPT, and Thinking Machines Lab, which was started by a former executive of ChatGPT. You understand? So cyber development, AI development for the American government is a military endeavor. And they are using these companies to spread digital technology all over Africa and the Caribbean as we speak right now. The message is called The Future of the Worldwide Revolution. I've gone through all of that just to highlight the challenges that we face in this time at this moment. And the fact that China is in a different position to most of the rest of the world. Why? Because for the last 50 years, it has been increasing its productive capacity, its independent productive capacity. Is everybody with me? Yeah. In other words, their capacity to build technology with greater and increasing levels of autonomy based upon their own interest. I can't remember who it is, but there's a Chinese business exec some time ago who actually said that basically if we don't have our own systems as it relates to the internet, we are effectively at the behest, at the mercy of the United States of America. And if you don't believe me, Britain is facing that problem right now. That its entire digital infrastructure is based upon technology from America. So when Trump wants to slap them up little piece, he can do it very easily. And so there's a lot of discussion in the British, among the British right now, that we can't be so reliant on American technology. To wrap up, 5 minutes. A lot of us, a second part of this message really is needed in terms of looking at where we are at in terms of being able to challenge all of this stuff. Is everybody with me? Yeah. In the book, The Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah speaks about liberated zones. Yes? These are zones that are not under colonial control. Today we have to say neo-colonial control. And many people would suggest that the zones that we have at this moment in time, that represent that the most, if not ultimately, if not completely, is the alliance of the Sahel. Yeah. Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. And there are and have been increasingly good reasons to substantiate that idea. What I want to highlight though, is that before we saw Goita, Chiani, and Traore come to power, they came to power on the back of a significant period of mass movements among the people of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Senegal, Cameroon, Congo, Togo, Benin, etc., etc., etc. Is everybody with me? Yeah. Some of us have questions about military governments. Some of us have questions about the factors that brought these leaders to power. But what we don't have to question is the revolutionary spirit among the people of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And to the extent that these leaders are acting in the interest of the masses of the people, we have less to question about these leaders. Does that make sense? But I'm going to suggest that for us as grassroots organizers, this was taken in April of last year in Burkina Faso. When the Jankra, Langley, made that statement, Burkina Faso was also in protest and demonstration in support of Traoré. And as you can see, the red, black, and green is flying in Burkina Faso. Our people are mobilized and organized. Check an interview that I did with a sister by the name of Inemestit Richardson, member of the All African People's Revolutionary Party and founder of the Thomas Sankara Institute in Burkina Faso and Niger. And she speaks about a lot of the grassroots organizing that is taking place, particularly in Burkina Faso and Niger, where she operates. Does that make sense? Yeah. And give thanks. And many of us are preoccupied with deciphering the value or lack thereof of the leaders at the helm, which is good. We should do that. But I am saying that for us as grassroots organizers, our primary concern has to be, how are we connecting with the grassroots? The masses of the people in Niger. Because our impression of the leaders is going to come from them. And their interaction with the leadership. Does that make sense? Yeah. So our mission, as far as the global African revolution at this moment in time, is how do we make that connection and form meaningful, functional, and operational unity. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? Yeah. Omowale Malcolm X in the charter for the OAAU says, the organization of Afro-American unity will develop in the Afro-American people a keen awareness for our relationship with the world at large and clarify what our roles, rights, and responsibilities as human beings. It says, we must change the thinking of the Afro-American by liberating our minds through the study of philosophies and psychologies and cultures and languages that did not come from our racist oppressors. I hope that that's somewhat what the message has provided today. An awareness of our place in the world, what is happening in the world and what our responsibility is. He says new bridges must be built because in the minds of the majority of our people today, Africa is too far away. So the only way you and I can point them in the right direction is to build new bridges. We have to have the type of understanding of Africa and the type of understanding of our people here in order to build a bridge, a contact, a line of communication between the two. And once that line of communication has been established and our African brothers can stretch forth their hand and reach us and we can stretch forth our hand and reach them, there's nothing that this blue-eyed man in this country will be able to do to you and me successfully from that day onwards. Brothers and sisters, I say all of that to say that revolution is in progress around the African world. If we want to know the future of the global African revolution, look to the Alliance of the Sahel. Look to places like Congo and Haiti and Brazil and Cuba. And our role, our responsibility, even, and our responsibility is to make those connections with our people on the ground. There is no revolution without the connectedness of the African diaspora. And whatever the future of the global revolution looks like, it's not going to be, our interests are not going to be served by China. controversial point. Our interests are not going to be served by China or Russia. We have to serve our own interests. And if our interests align with China and Russia along the way, then so be it. But that alignment will only take place if we align from a position of independent power. Not the benevolence of China and Russia. And that was the mission of Omowale Malcolm X when he defined Afro-American. And so we have to unify with our people across the region. And then the whole of we have to unite with our brothers and sisters on the African continent to fight against what he defined as Western imperialism and overcome political oppression, economic exploitation, and social degradation. So that we can say we declare our rights on this earth to be a human being. To be respected as a human being. To be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, and in this day, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary. Tender, my brothers and sisters. Give time.